Gail Fugate, President and CEO of the Advertising Research Foundation. I have one of my favorite people, Andy Markowitz, who's a general manager of Performance Marketing Labs, which you're going to explain to me what that is.
Yes.
At General Electric. And I got a lot of stuff I want to chat about, but just 2 cents on Performance Marketing Labs. What are you up to?
So it's a good question. We're figuring it out as we go. That's the best answer I can give.
But that's a great job to have.
It
you
is.
get to define it?
It's a mouthful, right? So basically what we're trying to do is take marketing competencies and kind of drive them out across the organization. And we have this specific lens of working with the businesses, and therefore it's more around commercial impact, a little less about the brand and awareness.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a change from Kraft and the CPG.
It sure is. It sure is. At Kraft, we were doing content before other people were really calling it content.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of the digital leaders, and Kraft, I feel, was too in CPG, having been
very
a competitor and studied them.
I've been fortunate enough to work at 2 organizations and 4 people that really got the value of what we were doing and what was happening with digital transformation. So that's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I love that. So let's chat about that. I mean, these are very different companies. Tell me your story. How did you find yourself here? Here we are, 2016 CES, and you've had a really interesting career. Chat about how did you architect that?
I am a total phantom of I don't know what, because I have no idea how I got here, but I did. I was at a .com startup before Kraft Foods. I got back into marketing at that point. To get to Kraft, to tell the truth, and I don't know that I've really said this out loud that many times, I actually answered a job ad on monster.com.
Love it.
To get here.
People need to hear that.
And it happened. At that point in time, there were not a lot of us that had digital experience.
Yeah.
Take us or leave us, it was what it was. And then, coming into GE, the opportunity presented itself, and as great as Kraft is, GE is a completely different type of experience. The culture is, phenomenal.
Scale.
Yeah, different scale. So it was an opportunity that you can't really pass up. And to work with some people that are really terrific.
Yeah, I love that. So you have this great quote, which I'll kind of paraphrase, which is, if you want to be a disruptor instead of being disrupted, then you need to face externally.
Yeah.
And also, and this is what I really love about this, is a little piece of advice and a nugget, is then also not think that you can solve everything yourself.
Yeah.
So talk about that. It's a philosophy, but it's a bold one. It's courageous, and it's pretty unusual, actually.
Yeah. So let's start a bit of a higher level, right? So in this digital world that we live in, right? Companies transform because maybe they have a near-death experience. Some companies are born on third base and they started that way, and other companies have to transform because they have great management. We have incredible leadership, right? Jeff Immelt, Beth Comstock, Linda Baugh. I mean, these are people that say, this is the way the world is moving. We can't be disrupted by, someone in a garage in Palo Alto who's going to underwrite or undercut a multi-billion-dollar piece of business. We are a company that is steeped in innovation. We're going to create a culture of innovation, not just in the products that we develop, but also on the media side as well. So we have been incredibly enabled to do the things that we've, been asked to do, and that's not the usual tact. A lot of companies really struggle to not just talk the talk, but to walk the walk, and that is we're buyers.
Yeah.
We have management support. Those are key ingredients to success.
I mean, have you had any turnarounds or any challenges, or talk a little bit about failure? Have you encountered failure along the way? You're out there at what I call the bleeding edge.
Yeah. So there's been lots of failure, and everyone will say that. I think one of my best career lessons is one that I've learned along the way, and I've probably been hit on the head a couple of times on this, is that especially when you sit in a corporate role versus one of the businesses or one of the markets, you're more of an enabler than you are always an owner.
Yeah.
And so the tendency is for people to go like this is mine, and
the turf thing, right?
The turf thing, and that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And so you have to be comfortable succeeding and making other people succeed, or letting other people succeed. And I learned that lesson along the way in terms of how to really work in this role, because working in a corporate role is not for everyone. Some people are meant to be more aligned people. Some people are meant to be more at the not the tactical level, but the program level.
Yeah.
And it's not for everyone. But I've learned a couple of lessons along the way, and one of them is that you really need to be an enabler. You need to share the stage with people, and part of that is, as much as I think I know, and as much as you think you know, because you've been around the block too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
right? This thing about being external.
Yeah.
Is knowing that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
And just because I sit in a corporate role and my business card says GE, it doesn't mean that there can't be someone in Indonesia or the UK who doesn't know 5 times as much as what I know. And therefore, we should be taking them for what they're worth, which is bringing great experiences as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I completely agreed. Like last night I was speaking with someone at a party.
Right.
And because that's all part of CES too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I was telling him that we're doing neuroscience because he wasn't really familiar with the ARF because he's had a number of positions in the last 25 years in Singapore. And so he said, do you think that there's a difference culturally when you do neuroscience of people with different ethnic backgrounds and and different, and I thought, wow. So I learned something even just by that question. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go. Like, I do think that there would be, but I want to go find out.
Yeah.
That we've been doing neuroscience for years. That never really occurred to me like that way.
We are, Gail, as external as we try to be and as progressive as we try to be, there's no way that we don't find ourselves too caught up in the U.S., New York bubble way of thinking. And the more my role has become global, similar to what you're saying, the more I've understood that there are a multitude of different ways to do things, and especially with consumption of media, especially with younger kids. I mean, just the little things of young people share off a headline. They're not even reading the article. What is the value of that share from a research perspective if all they're doing is doing that because it's behavior of doing this? It's almost a rhythm.
It's like,
Right. So in that context, a lot of people waited for scale for digital for a long time, right? Videos now get 1 million views, 10 million views. But the more the behavior becomes routinized, the more commoditized it becomes. And so we have to start thinking, is now 10 million the new 1 million? Is 1 million the new 10,000?
Yeah.
Because really, where is the value when people are just doing this because it's just rhythm, right? And it's not really valued because they're sharing off of a headline versus understanding what's in the article.
Right.
Or just because my daughter's flipping through her Instagram thing going like. I'm like, you didn't even look at those. And
I know.
she's like liking it.
So the word promiscuous was floating around in one of these articles, right? And but it's right on this point that you're making, which is how do you counterbalance personalization, customization, and scale?
Yeah.
And I mean, nothing's bigger than G, and you're working on jet engines for heaven's sake. So work that over a little bit.
Yeah. So you asked.
What's your take on that?
You asked before a little bit about getting external, right?
Yes.
So it's very easy to just think of your world in a very kind of vertical way. And I think where people will succeed today is thinking a little bit more horizontal in their approach, right? Which is to say, people talk about the stack and they talk about the marketing cloud and they talk about all these different things. But what you really need to do is create sustainable platforms that you can repeat processes off of and you can learn from and then rinse and repeat over time. And I think, finding the right partners in the right places and being open to, I didn't know that I could use our Marketo data to nurture inside of LinkedIn. So we are promiscuous in the sense that we are always trying to find new solutions. It is embedded in our culture to be innovative, like as I mentioned before.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I mean, Jack Welch was aligned. I don't think he was on the board of directors at General Mills, but he was a thought leader that was really helping architect my company when I early on got there. And absolutely, there was this relentless focus, not just on innovation, but on being a meritocracy.
Yes.
On talent management.
that piece remains steadfast at GE, right? I mean, it is
Training.
It's one of the things that is, really great. I mean, there are things that have evolved over time. I mean, trying to act more as an agile company, right? Reducing the amount of PowerPoint, and those are very tactical things that kind of move away from to simplification.
Yeah.
But this commitment to culture and training and personnel is really sets GE apart in many ways. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you approach that? Are they most more? Is there customized? Do you match people up with mentors, or is it is it more like every leader is in charge of making sure that their organization is trained? Is it programmatic in sense, not as media buying programmatic, but the other kind?
Right. So we have this great center in New York called Crotonville, and they offer a ton of classes. And every year when managers go through their planning cycle for people, we're going to nominate these people for these classes, and we're going to continue to nurture them and cultivate this kind of what do we want to get out of our company, and what do we want our company to provide for our customers. And that is a very interesting
That's a big
nuance.
Distinction.
It's a big distinction. It's not, I don't say that in passing lightly. And the more we have progressed, the more focused we have become on outcomes for our customers. And that is a real big focus for us, and you can see the training progressing that way as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so I'm imagining, but it's a question, is it an honor to get to go? You get selected,
it's great. You learn stuff.
It's grueling, probably.
No, it's work.
Yeah.
You do not go and and sip martinis all day, not by a long shot. It is an honor to get to go. It's an honor to be a part of that process.
Yeah.
And it is work.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing about GE is the scale of GE. There's 300,000 employees.
Yes.
You cannot know anyone or everyone.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Often when I need to find out about what's happening inside of GE, I need to go to one of our external partners because they have a better purview of what's going on, because that's just the nature of scale. So just to get to go and participate that and meet people who are engineers and who are in the factories and who are doing different things is really
that's your
great.
Horizontal networking that you were talking about.
What you learn about in terms of what finance people are doing here, what supply chain people are doing there, what marketers are doing over here, that's when you're a part of something that's really making a difference.
Yeah, well, and hats off to your company for that. I mean, I couldn't get enough of that early on in my career.
Yeah.
And we didn't have internal training programs early on in my career. I remember going to the managing people class. I had one employee, right? And I was the one in the front row that was like, I have a question. I have another question. They were kind of like, I bet you do. Like enough out of you. I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I was dying to have reference points like you're saying, but how rich for your organization to create reference points across functions.
Yeah.
And to be able to learn that way, because you can't, like you said, you can't go it alone.
We had Capital, which is being broken up, had this program called Access GE.
Yeah.
And Access GE was for customers, and their tagline, their strategy was, we're bankers, not builders, or builders, not bankers. You could go to any bank and get money.
I love that.
But you couldn't necessarily go to a bank and get Six Sigma, lean, lean production expertise. You couldn't go and get supply chain expertise. So having access to people like that and being able to share that and provide value in a bundled kind of way, I think does make it a product differentiator as we go to market. The scale, the depth of what we can offer as a company, as one GE.
Right, and you spoke of external suppliers, what I call now solutions providers, because I think suppliers sounds a little denigrating.
Yeah.
It's like primary and secondary data. I'm like, who wants to be secondary?
Our vendors. They like our vendors, not our partners.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not partners.
Right.
But you said, I'll go to my partner to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
That really resonates with me. Are you finding it easier or more difficult? There's this term walled gardens now.
Yeah, sure.
Are you finding it easier or more difficult or the same to get partners partners to work with each other, because it's like no one is going to have all the answers. I think
that there are some people that are, finding that is the only way to go. You're seeing a lot more open API environments come to fruition, a lot of the ecosystem kind of thing really kind of taking hold. I still think people struggle to understand what that means and how to make sense of it, and that's okay. So I'd like to say I see things getting broken down and making it easier to do work. And then at the same time, every time I say that, there's another person that comes in and goes, well, we've got the best widget ever, and here's the best. You only do business with us.
Yeah.
So there's still a ways to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an opportunity just from this chair, from the Advertising Research Foundation, to have some consistent ways of measuring, or else encourage solution providers to bring examples that were with other companies, so they're not just measuring, like grading their own homework. It's that kind of coin term.
Yeah.
But
we're actually doing.
I had a terrible time sorting all that out. Because everybody's was the best and all their numbers look good, but you couldn't compare across.
So there's words that are verboten right now, right? Like dashboards.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? I don't need another dashboard. Everyone's got a dashboard. What we've been doing is we've been actually working with Shelley Zallis. Yeah. Right. She's broken off and she's gone to her own company called Context.
Yes.
And we've been working with them to do a lot of work around pulling data feeds in from different resources and putting some data scientists on it to find leading indicators and lagging indicators and
she shared some of this with me. It's really interesting.
It's really cool stuff, right? She's terrific.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that while it takes a while to get to to learn, like insights to a certain degree is not as it's not as highly valued as it should be in companies. And the data that you can mine without having to do ethnographies and things like that, even your own proprietary data to find those leading indicators and lagging indicators, it's there for the taking if you can go and do it. And I think part of what you guys think of at the ARF, this is, I think, a way to kind of start to measure what impact looks like.
Yes.
And when you can partner, as we've done, LinkedIn and Marketo, so that there's throughput all the way through. It's not about the impressions that LinkedIn is providing, but the data that we can turn anonymous users into leads, opportunities, and sales. That's throughput. That's the way you have to kind of think about things.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, you're kind of in the catbird seat leading digital for the data management platform. That's why you came to Las Vegas, right? Have a little break.
In all honesty, we are
for a multi-billion-dollar company, no pressure.
I said it before, and I mean this. Beth Comstock, Linda Boff. I mean, what they do to enable us to do the things in order to drive customer experience, to drive outcomes for our customers. When you have a strategy like that, the tactics are so easy to go and do. And not everyone is equipped with that strategy.
Well, and I know Beth better than Linda, but I know, and I've spent time with both of them. I think you're so lucky because they really both do believe in analytics.
Yeah.
I know that Beth and I are judges together on this Marketing Analytics Leadership Award.
Yeah.
It's the uncommon marketer that agrees to be a judge for Marketing Analytics Leader. You got to see these entries, right? That's whole weekend.
I've had this conversation with her, by the way, and I know.
So I think that the question that's on my mind, and because we're pals, I'm going to ask it. You have a very unusual. I mean, I spoke with Johnny Wada this morning from IBM, and of course Ginny Rometty is their CEO.
Yeah, sure.
But in today's day and age, you have a fairly a unique organization with two senior women. Elevated that high, and really Beth is, has had a spectacular rise in the industry and run. Do you think that there's an imprint that they're making as women? Do you think there are any values or approaches or things that are permeating the way that you do business that is
absolutely
different, better? Say a little bit about that. What are your insights about that?
I mean, Beth is on every level the real deal, right?
Absolutely.
And she's a great operator. She doesn't want PowerPoint pitches. She wants fast. She's willing to fail.
Yeah.
Jeff trusts
Says
her
it all.
immensely. I don't know what to do with this. You figure it out for me. So here is a person who is figuring new stuff out along the way and creating new space. And again, I talked about this before. That is the power of good management versus near-death experiences versus
Correct.
companies that are born on third base.
Yeah.
Like they start with people, and Beth has that trust. And if you're awake inside of GE and you see what she's doing, that's a blueprint. And I don't care who you are, what you look like, where you're from. That's powerful, powerful stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, and then it obviates fear of failure too, right? Because that's that can be really toxic in an organization.
So we're using Slack, the communications tool inside of GE, and there's a channel that we've created on Slack called FailCon.
Okay.
Everyone share their failures.
Oh, people were asking for this yesterday. The guys from Unilever were saying we should have a Hall of Shame. So we talk about it so we don't make the same mistake again.
So there's the marketing channel. There's all these different channels inside of Slack, and one that was created for conversations around sharing your failures.
Right.
And we're not. I mean, it's okay.
And explain what Slack. Help me with that.
Sure. So Slack is basically Slack is a platform.
Got it.
It's basically it's more than an instant messaging platform,
yes.
and it is supposed to alleviate the burden of 3,000 emails.
Yes.
So that if you're working on a project, and we'll call it the Red Hat project.
Yes.
Here's a channel
That's
devoted to them, and you can invite people on Slack within GE
right.
to participate in this conversation,
platform.
and it shows the thread of the conversations, and
Fabulous.
that's where all the documents are stored. So it's kind of an interesting way to kind of focus conversations based on categories.
Yeah.
And hopefully dismantle the cluster that email can be from time to time.
Yeah.
So we're trying it out. I know a lot of people are trying it out. We'll see, but
yeah.
But we did create this channel for FailCon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that we have to get our failures out and talk about them. It's really important.
We call it success theater.
Oh, right? I love that.
Right, and no one wants success theater anymore. People are tired of success theater.
Yeah, I mean, I call it apple polishing, right? I'm really tired of
right.
because now we're curating presentations and people stand on the stage, right?
Yes.
And they got their PowerPoint pitch
Yes.
and they're just polishing the apple.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, good Lord, that is not how that.
You
just know.
That's not good.
Nothing's that perfect.
Yeah.
Life is not that perfect.
It's not, and it's not easy for people to get up and talk about failures, right? I mean, it is counterintuitive to moving ahead in an organization.
Yeah.
But there's no way that you can act like an agile company if you expect everything is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
If for anyone that has worked at a startup, you know that you need to learn, and inherent part of learning is failing.
Yeah.
And so big companies fail too.
Yeah.
And we have to be okay with that.
So what would you say is the thing that you draw most on from your early digital career background?
So it's interesting. I love to think back on what everyone was trying to do back in the early days, and really so much of it is coming to fruition now. And what I love and what I've seen change is that the scalable platforms and technologies that exist today, I think, really can drive substantive change in the way companies can do business. And as a marketer,
which was a dream.
Which was a dream. And as marketers, we are often like, oh, what's Facebook and what's Pinterest and what's Twitter? But as a marketer, your responsibility with access to all of this stuff is to think about the operations component of this, and to think about what digital looks like to be a digital company, not just digital marketers. And I think that's really, really key. Jeff Immelt was on stage, and he with Henry Blodgett, and he said, look, this thing about the tech bubble, this is ridiculous. There's a whole industrial side of technology that's here that's just starting to get going right now.
Yes.
So, if marketers are so myopic just to think about what the next ad network is, then you're going to miss out on the opportunity to have impact across the org. So I think, part of being able to succeed has been able to add value to other people who might not thought of that we would have added value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and look, we're at the beginning, not the end, as you just said. They just changed it from Consumer Electronics Show to
Right.
CTA, right?
Right.
Technology.
Yeah.
So, really embracing
That's
it.
where we're going.
So you have like multiple accolades and honors. You were Ad Age Digital Marketer of the Year. B2B Magazine named you a Marketer of the Year. iMedia 25 Internet Marketing Leaders and Innovators. What would you say your biggest success is looking back at 2015?
My biggest success is clearly seeing people that have worked on our team get promoted, cultivating talent, nurturing talent. Nothing else to me matters. The technologies are
I love that.
parity. What sets technologies apart are the people that kind of implement it and see the strategic vision all the way through.
It's important.
It's important, and I think that is how you add value back in.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look at the agencies and programmatic buying. You have to add value back in and with people. And so when I think back on what we've done, it is getting our group and our extended family to kind of think about technologies in different ways. That to me is that's cultivating culture. That's getting people to think differently. That's the biggest win.
Love that. Really, that's very inspirational. Thank you. And how about a prediction for 2016?
Oh boy.
We're sitting here, or maybe we'll be in a bar somewhere next year, 2017. We'll figure out how to move our film set around, right, Mitch?
So if I had to say that there was one thing for 2016 that I think people are going to start thinking about, I would say is this, and I think you've already started to see it play out, is this holistic view of customer experience.
Yes.
Right, and we've been thinking about this.
You clearly have. I think you're really leading the way on it.
There is this expectation that, or there's a mandatory expectation that companies like Google and Amazon and Apple have created consumer experiences. How do you create them with industrial strength, right? And how do you kind of facilitate that? Because this is the way people want to get access to information. This is the way people want to do things. So I think hopefully you will start to see people move away from marketing and moving more into kind of customer experience as a mechanism to kind of think about how do you satisfy your customers? How do you solve your customers' problems? How do you solve your customers' problems? Mm-hmm. I hope that there's more conversation around it that way.
Yeah, all right, I love that.
Right.
So, Andy Markowitz, it's sad that this is over.
Thank you.
I just had such a
great
time. Thank you
Yeah,
so
me
much.
too.
You are just incredibly inspirational. I love that we spent just as much time talking about leadership and your team and your point of pride in the advancement of your people, which is so important in today's day and age for us to lift the next generation up on our shoulders.
Yeah. Thank you. It's very nice of you.
At the ARF, we are strong advocates of this Insights 2020 initiative, and it speaks so much to the leading companies, the winning companies, and the growing companies are the ones that do exactly what you talked about. They're integrating data across multiple platforms. They are consumer-centric. So they think about the customer first. They believe in speed, experimentation, taking risks.
Yeah.
You talked about sharing not just successes but failures, and actually having it mechanized in your organization.
Yeah.
The importance of training, and clearly you're delivering results. And I know that your company values you. But what a great run you're having! I look back on my career, and I just think about there were a few times where there were these magical teams of leaders, and it feels like that's what you have right now at GE with you in the catbird seat that you're in, but with this great honor of working with the Jeffs.
That was worth worth coming to Vegas for. So thank you for that.
Yeah. All right. So thanks so much,
Okay.
and we'll see you at a party somewhere.
The next one. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.